Hello everyone and welcome to my first video and my first baking video. I'm so excited. I've wanted to do this for so long and I'm finally doing it. And I'm also super excited because today we're going to be making little mini vitria sponges, which are so cute and so lovely and they just taste so good. So let's get started. Firstly, what you're going to need to make this is 225 grams of margarine, 225 grams of caster sugar, 275 grams of flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 4 eggs and 4 tablespoons of milk. Also with this recipe you're going to be needing an electric whisk and one of these really deep muffin pans. My one have the bottoms that slide off, so it's just a lot easier to get your cakes out once they're done. You can use any Victoria sponge recipe you like. I personally use one by Mary Berry that I've been using literally forever. This book was published in 1994. Which is before I was even born, and my mum got it, and then I just grew a love of baking and I love this book and I love Mary Berry, and that's why we're using her recipes today. Now you're going to want to start off by sieving all of your dry ingredients into a medium to large bowl. So let's start with the caster sugar, the self-raising flour, and the baking powder. Then you're going to take a whisk and just whisk it all together just to keep the air in, and so that the flour and the baking powder and the sugar is all nice and combined. Next we're going to do all of our wet ingredients, so I'm going to add in the butter, which I cut into little cubes just because I find it a lot easier to whisk in, and also make sure these are at room temperature, because if they're hard and cold then it's just not very easy to whisk it in. Whoop! Got some stragglers at the bottom. Come on. Now you're going to add your milk. And finally, my favourite part is the eggs. I love cracking eggs. I do sometimes get shells in them, but that's okay. We all make mistakes. Did I mention what you need to heat your oven to? You need to heat your oven to 180 degrees, in case I forgot to mention that. Do that. Mine's running now. Next, you're going to need to take your electric whisk and whisk all of this together. Now it is time to put your batter into your muffin tins, and you do that using a spatula. You can use spoons as well. I personally just like to pick up a dollop and dollop it in. You want them to be about halfway full because they do rise quite a lot. Now that we have filled all of our little muffin tins with our cake batter, it's time to put it in the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes. I've taken the cakes out of the oven and I've given them time to cool, and they look so good and so yummy, and they're so cute and so tiny, and I love them. Now it's time to cut them open. You can either use a cake leveler, which I find a lot more difficult, so I just use a good old knife. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn them on their sides, and we're just going to cut into them as straight as we can. I personally always get them quite wonky, but that one actually turned out okay. So now that we've cut open our cakes, we're now going to start making the buttercream icing, and what you're going to need for that is 200 grams of icing sugar. You're going to need 100 grams of butter and a little bit of vanilla extract. You're also going to be needing some jam after we've done the buttercream. I like to use strawberry jam. You can use whatever jam you prefer. We're going to start off by putting in the icing sugar, or as Americans call it, powdered sugar, but both the same thing. I'm going to make a massive cloud of sugar. Next we're going to put in our butter, again at room temperature, and I've just cut them up into little cubes to make things a little bit easier. Next we're just going to use a splash of vanilla extract, probably like a teaspoon or something, but I like to just eyeball it, give it a little bit, just add a tiny bit more taste. There we go. Now we're just going to mix these two together with the electric whisk, but firstly I'm going to start it using a spatula, because a lot of the time if you just go straight to the electric whisk when it comes to powdered sugar or icing sugar, then it's just going to go and go everywhere and all over your kitchen, and as fun as it is to make a mess, we also want the buttercream. So I'm just going to start off stirring it in here before we move over to the electric whisk. Now that you have made your lovely buttercream, it is time to do my favourite bit of all time, which is the icing of the cakes. So firstly you want to take off the hats And then I always use a little bit of water on this brush looking thing. I just do a little dab of water, make the cakes a little bit moist. Now that you've moistened your cake, you're going to go in with a spatula and a knife. And just on one side of the cake, you're going to get a little bit of buttercream. I think that was way too much buttercream. And you're going to spread it onto your cake. And now moving on to the jam. Again, I use strawberry jam just because I love strawberry jam. And we're going to go in with our knife and do the opposite side. Now that we have buttercreamed and jammed both layers of our cake, it's time to put them together. How cute! They're so small, they're so lovely. I love them so much. And this recipe makes quite a lot of cakes. I didn't actually count how many I made. Let's count them now. 1, 2, 3. I made 18 of these cakes in that one batch. I actually only have 17 with me because I dropped one on the floor when I was taking it out of the oven, which is really smart of me and a really good move. But these look absolutely delicious. I'm going to go finish the rest of this batch and I'm going to show you the whole lot of them once they're done. Thank you everyone for watching my first YouTube video, my first YouTube baking video. It's been so much fun. I've loved it so much. I did do YouTube like a few years ago just doing some makeup stuff, but I actually really want to get into it now. It's a good hobby. It's fun. I love filming. I love baking. I love doing all of this. So if you want me to make more, let me know, subscribe, maybe, I don't know, do whatever you want. And I will hopefully see you soon in my next thing. Okay, bye!